Hello again, friends, and welcome back to the Juicebox Podcast. Laura was misdiagnosed with type 2 diabetes. She, of course, has type 1. You'll hear about that story. And she was eventually diagnosed with Hashimoto's. We're going to talk about type 1, misdiagnosis, GLP medications, weight loss, and so much more. Actually, at the end, what do we find out? Oh, she was in an Eversense trial. Oh, yeah, we talk about that at the end. Please don't forget that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. When you use my link, hungryroot.com/juicebox, you will save 40% off of your first order at hungryroot.com. Go check them out if you're tired of making meals but want something healthy. When you place your first order for AG1 with my link, you'll get 5 free travel packs and a free year's supply of vitamin D. Drink AG1.com/juicebox. I know that Facebook has a bad reputation, but please give the private Facebook group for the Juicebox Podcast a healthy once-over. Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes. Dexcom sponsored this episode of the Juicebox Podcast. Learn more about the Dexcom G7 at my link, dexcom.com/juicebox. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the insulin pump that my daughter wears, Omnipod. Learn more and get started today with the Omnipod DASH or the Omnipod 5 at my link, omnipod.com/juicebox. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by Cozy Earth. CozyEarth.com. Use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout to save 40% off of the clothing, towels, sheets, off of everything they have at CozyEarth.com.
Hi, my name is Laura. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and I have had type 1 diabetes for 3.5 years.
How old are you, Laura?
I am 59 and a half.
Ooh, okay.
By the time this airs, I'll be the big 60.
Is that a dig at me for how long it takes me to put out the episodes, or?
Absolutely not.
Is it just close to your birthday? Wow, so you were diagnosed when you were what, 55? 56.
56.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you live your life with autoimmune issues?
Nope, nothing. Not a zippo.
In the family, anything?
My older sister has quite a few. She has Hashimoto's and she has vitiligo and she has something called burning tongue syndrome.
I just had somebody on the other day who told me they have geographic tongue. And I was like, what is that? Burning tongue. I thought that was a music festival, but hold on a second.
That would be fun. She said her tongue feels like she burned it on pizza all the time.
Ongoing or recurrent burning in the mouth with no obvious cause.
Yeah.
Does she have it constantly or is it off and on?
I'm not sure.
Well, lucky her. It's very rare. Fewer than 20,000 cases per year.
Wow.
That's got to be a bummer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
20, like 1 in 20,000. And it's not a lottery ticket. It's this. You know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah, great. Thanks a lot. Any other siblings for you?
I have other siblings. I have a brother and another younger sister, and they are all fine.
Parents are okay.
My mom's fine. My dad's, everybody's fine.
No celiac?
Nope.
You got a bipolar brother-in-law? Anything like that, brother? Nothing?
No.
Some people say not diagnosed, which I always find amusing. So, okay, wow. Okay, well then what the hell? Tell me about how you figured it out.
Well, I was fine. Everything was fine. And then COVID happened. Oh. And I own a small business. And that was very stressful. Mm-hmm. Like I had to lay everybody off and close the place and figure out what we were going to do. And that happened when end of February, beginning of March, 2020.
Right.
And in May, I was thirsty all the time. You know, I mean, there was a lot going on and you couldn't really get to the doctor. And So I didn't really think about it. I was like, it's weird. I'm thirsty all the time. And then, the classic symptoms, I started losing weight and I had leg cramps and heartburn and my hair was falling out and my skin was dry and just all these things, but they didn't seem related.
Yeah.
Looking back, clearly they're related.
Right,
but at
right.
the time I was like, well, that's weird. Well, now I need more potassium, whatever.
I'll eat a banana.
Right. I'll just eat a banana. It's fine. On an empty stomach. That's great. All by itself.
But your sister has Hashimoto's, so did any of those symptoms make you think that?
No.
Okay.
No. I did look it up and it kept saying diabetes and I'm like, there's no way. There's
56.
no type 2 in my family at all. My A1C has always been fine. There's no way. That can't be it. Well,
it was.
So,
well, you know what? Can I ask a question before we move forward with that? Can you maybe put a little more context to the pressure you felt having that small business and having to do all those things?
Well, I employ 13 people. So we had to lay everybody off and figure out how to keep the business alive. So, in the first 2 or 3 weeks, I spun up a website to sell like a web store, which we did not have before. I did all the legwork for making sure that they could get their unemployment and get the benefits for that. We did all the things for a PPP loan. I did a fundraiser hoodie that I churned that out in 2 weeks. My partner was working from home. So while we were home, he was working.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't really do it. Wasn't like happy fun time. Woohoo, we're on vacation, right?
Right. Yeah.
It was just really, really
a lot
stressful.
Of stress. Yeah. A lot of pressure.
I pretty much vibrated for 3 months.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear you. So you weren't ill during that time, just the stress. No. Gotcha. Well, it can do it. So, and you're living proof. All right. So, okay. I'm so sorry. So you're having all these symptoms but what pushes you to say, I need to seek medical attention?
Well, it was the weight loss, which I have always been overweight my whole entire life. So I was like, woohoo, I'm doing great. Because I was trying. I had lost 20 pounds before this happened, before the pandemic happened.
Oh, okay. So you were on that process already. The podcast is sponsored today by the place where I get my sheets, my towels, some of my clothing, a lot of the things that I stay warm or comfortable with. CozyEarth.com. I'm wearing a pair of Cozy Earth joggers right now. I've recently gotten another pair in a different color. I sleep on Cozy Earth sheets. They are so comfortable and soft and temperate. Temperate meaning I'm never hot or cold, which is really saying something because my wife loves to turn that giant fan on, but they keep me nice and warm without making me sweaty or moist. You know what I mean? You don't want to be moist while you're sleeping. And then, of course, the waffle towels I use every day to dry off my bits and parts after I've showered. CozyEarth.com. Use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout to save 40% off of your entire order. I'm not saying 40% off of one item. I'm saying 40% off of everything you put in the cart. CozyEarth.com. Use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of fell off the wagon when the pandemic happened, but I hadn't gained any, I was like, okay, I'm good. And then it was falling off. And I was like, wow, this is fantastic. But then I think it was probably in mid to late June when I was just getting winded, walking across the parking lot. And I was like, there is definitely something going on. So I made an appointment with my PCP, but she was on vacation. It was the appointment was a month out. All right, well, okay. End of July, I'm going to see the doctor. And then when she got back from vacation and saw my list of symptoms, she sent me for lab work. And I went and did that on a Friday afternoon. And on Saturday morning, she called me and said, get thee to the ER right now. I was like, why? I'm fine. She was like, you're not fine. I'm like, oh, I'm fine. She said, you're dehydrated. And I pulled up the skin on my hand and went, no, I'm fine.
I see plenty of plumpness right here. It's really okay. But dehydrated's what she sent you to the hospital for?
Well, she knew.
Oh, okay.
My A1C was 13 and a half.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
My blood sugar was 400 and something.
Did she indicate type 1 or type 2 to you, or did she let the hospital tell you?
All she said was, you need to go right now. You're dehydrated. You're very sick. Go. I'm like, okay. We were packing to go camping, Scott. Packing to go camping. Like the next day, we were going camping. That day. It was Saturday. We were leaving that afternoon. I would be dead now.
Yeah, out in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah. So I get to the ER. Of course, I'm in DKA. So a couple of days in the ICU and a day in the regular, and then I'm home.
Mm-hmm. They give you, obviously, insulin. They brought your blood sugar down slowly, all that stuff. And then what's the management like leaving the hospital? Is it pens or?
Of course, diagnosed me with type 2. And I left with Lantus and Humalog and syringes and glipizide. They put me on glipizide. Oh, and my TSH was like 1,800. I was like this disgustingly high amount. Mm-hmm. So also Hashimoto's, same time.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you said about the hair loss, that made me think about that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you started with Synthroid.
Yep.
And they thought you had type 2.
Yep.
How long does it take you to realize you don't have type 2?
Not very long. I'm very, very lucky because I'm in the hospital. I have the hospitalist as my, guy. He comes to see me. And I'm like, I do not understand how this happened. There's no type 2 in my family. I've always been heavy my whole entire life. I'm very conscious of what I eat. I exercise all the time. I do not eat. I don't drink soda. I don't eat poorly. I don't have a lot of carbohydrates. They're telling me to eat 45 to 65 grams of carbs per meal. And I'm like, that's more than I eat now.
Yeah, I can't do that.
I don't understand. And so he ran the test. He did the GAD test. And told me it would take some weeks for the results to come back.
Okay. So let me say, basically, you think your body structure pointed to type 2?
Oh, yeah. My age and my overweightness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Laura, you don't have to, but can you give me context? How tall and how much?
I am 5'4", and I rolled in at like 210.
Laura, did you say rolled in on purpose? You trying to be funny?
I did not, but we'll say I did.
Okay.
I'm hilarious.
I was like, is she just going for it here? and your whole life, that's your issue. But
yeah.
But you do exercise and you don't eat egregiously.
Correct.
Interesting.
And that actually runs in my family.
Mm-hmm. See, now we're getting to something here. Have they talked about putting you on a GLP medication?
I am currently, let me.
Go, you want to tell? Oh, yeah, you don't want me to jump ahead. I like it. Tease it out, Laura. Keep everybody listening. Let's get them to the ads. All right. No. Okay. So they give you the GAD antibody test, but it takes a while to get the results back.
That's right. So I leave on a sliding scale with a poker, and a blood sugar meter. Mm-hmm. The hospital, because I went in on a Saturday, they were going to send me home on like Sunday afternoon when they let me out of the ICU. They were going to discharge me from the ICU. And the nurses were like, what? No, you cannot just send her home like this. She needs to talk to a nutritionist. She needs to talk to somebody. You can't just send her home. And the doctor was like, she's out. But then there was an issue with the pharmacy and what my insurance was going to cover. So the nurses advocated for me to get a regular on the telemetry floor or whatever, another night, so that I could be there on Monday to see people.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent. Good for them for sticking up for you. Did you have anything to do with it, or were you really at their mercy?
I was I didn't get to talk to the doctor about that. They just told me that they were trying to get it so that I didn't have to go home straight out of the ICU. And I was like, that's good, because I don't know what's happening.
This is going to seem morbid for a second, but I was with my mom in the days approaching her passing. And I was fascinated about how little contact you had with a doctor. even in that dire situation, they roll in, they say a couple things, and they leave again. You're like, you have questions, and sometimes you can't even think of all your questions right away. You know what I mean? You're writing them down, and you're like trying to get people's attention, and then they say, "Oh, don't worry, we'll send a hospitalist to you because that person will be your, who you'll speak through to all the doctors." But then you don't see those people. You're like, "Hey, when's the hospitalist coming back?" Tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning. It's 10:00 in the morning now. It's really fascinating how it all works, and
yeah.
the situation you get put in. But the nurse saves you, right? They get you to a bed. What happens next?
I talked to the nutritionist who, was basically useless. She told me the same thing, 45 to 65 grams of carbs per meal. And I was like, I'm not going to eat that much. She said, well, that's what you need to do. And then she was like, well, what's your favorite thing to eat? Your all time, you would, knock over a bank to have this thing. I was like, well, I never eat this thing, but my all-time favorite thing is a loaded baked potato with barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, well, you can have that. And I was like, no, I can't.
I'm pretty sure that's not right.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Okay. So you get shaky advice in the hospital. How do you figure out what to do for yourself? Actually, how much weight did you lose in the run-up to the diagnosis, I meant to ask?
Like 20, 25 pounds.
Just 20, 25 pounds
Yeah.
off the 210.
No.
No.
I was at the hospital at 210.
Oh, okay. And that 25 took you to 210?
Yeah.
I got you. So we started at around 235. We got to the hospital at 210.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know the phrase tickled her ass with a feather?
Yeah.
What do you weigh now? My daughter is 20 years old. I can't even believe it. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when she was 2, and she put her first insulin pump on when she was 4. That insulin pump was an Omnipod, and it's been an Omnipod every day since then. That's 16 straight years of wearing Omnipod. It's been a friend to us, and I believe it could be a friend to you. Omnipod.com/juicebox. Whether you get the Omnipod DASH or the automation that's available with the Omnipod 5, you are going to enjoy tubeless insulin pumping. You're going to be able to jump into a shower or a pool or a bathtub without taking off your pump. That's right, you will not have to disconnect to bathe with an Omnipod. You also won't have to disconnect to play a sport or to do anything where a regular tube pump has to come off. Arden has been wearing an Omnipod for 16 years. She knows other people that wear different pumps, and she has never once asked the question, should I be trying a different pump? Never once. Omnipod.com/juicebox. Get a pump that you'll be happy with forever. For a person using insulin, the benefits of a Dexcom CGM cannot be overstated. The Dexcom allows you to see the speed, direction, and number of your blood sugar. For example, my daughter, who is 700 miles away in college, her blood sugar is currently 163 after a meal and steady. I'm going to tell you all about that in a second, but please remember that you can get a Dexcom right now at dexcom.com/juicebox. I have that information because I am one of the people who follows her Dexcom CGM. The Dexcom CGM allows for up to 10 followers of your choosing. That means that I can see everything that Arden's blood sugar is doing, no matter where she is. You might be thinking, oh, you have to look at your phone constantly. But you don't, because you can set up alarms to let you know when thresholds are met. I, on my phone, have Arden's low alarm set at 70 and her high alarm set at 120. On Arden's phone, her low alarm is 80 and her high alarm is 130. So we get alarms that make us go, I wonder what this is about. Do we always do something about it? We don't. Right now, for instance, I can see what Arden's been doing. I spoke to her recently. I know what she had for lunch. She made a great bolus. This is going to come back down. But if it doesn't, we'll see that on the CGM. If it starts to head back up, we'll see that on the Dexcom. And then she can make adjustments to her insulin using this great information. Find out more right now and get started today at dexcom.com/juicebox. That special link is for you, the Juicebox Podcast listeners. And guess what? You may be eligible for a free 10-day trial of the Dexcom G6. You'll find out at my link. Head over there now. Maybe there's some questions you have about Dexcom that I didn't answer in this ad, but all of the information you need is right at the link. See customizable alerts and alarms, 0 finger sticks, and glucose readings right on your smart device. Dexcom.com/juicebox. Links in your show notes. Links at juiceboxpodcast.com.
162.
Wow. Very nice. Good for you. Okay. We'll figure out how you got to it as we talk. Okay. So you're married? Is that right? Yes.
I'm not married, but I'm in a long-term thing. So we may as well be married.
Somebody's stuck helping you. I got you. That's all I meant.
Yeah.
By married, I meant, is there someone with you going, okay.
Yes. Yes, there is.
Gotcha.
And that was pretty much his reaction.
Oh, of course. Like, what are we doing? I thought we were going to retire soon. What the hell?
Right.
So you guys make sense of all this? You don't? Like, you're getting the advice about eating, but this isn't obviously what you ended up doing. So how do you figure it all out?
I'm the kind of person who needs to know all the things. I always know all the things. Mm-hmm. So, of course, what do? I'm instantly trying to figure out what to do and what's going on and how to advocate for myself and how to make sure that I use my insulin properly and do all the things. I had a follow-up. Well, my original appointment with my doctor was like the next week. So I kept that appointment and, they kind of gave me some advice about what to do. Mm-hmm. But it was pretty much stay the course. I was lucky enough to get in with an endo probably within a month, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in August when I saw the endo. I'm so lucky. She's so great. I've heard so many horror stories.
Yeah.
Mostly on your show.
Thank you.
And she's really fantastic. And by that time, I had the results of the GAD test, and it was astronomically high.
Type 1 for sure.
She took me off the glipizide and, switched me to pens and
got you going with all that.
Got me a Dexcom. But by that time, I already knew what I wanted. I had, she was like, well, if you heard there's this thing called that. And I'm like, yeah, I want the Dexcom. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Where did you hear about all that? Like going through the internet and looking around? That's how you found out about like CGMs and things?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Facebook groups. They were far more helpful than anything else. I don't think I had found your podcast before I went to the endo for the first time, but it was shortly after
that.
And I have to say, Scott, I would not be where I am today if it were not for the podcast and the Facebook group and the other groups, because, we all know they don't tell you
anything. Yeah.
They don't tell you. They're trying to keep you alive, and that's about it.
Here, this is a quote from an NIH article. Social media has become a primary source of health information for Americans. A large number of users, 76%, reported that they do not merely encounter such content on the internet, but also rely on platforms such as Facebook for health information. That's like from an NIH study.
Yeah. Wow.
It doesn't stop any doctor and make them go, huh? You know what I mean? From like a self-preservation standpoint, Laura, like you're a small business owner.
Yeah.
If you heard that 76% of the people who came to you figured out what they needed somewhere besides you, you'd think, oh, we're going to be out of business soon.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I would. And I would do everything in my power to make myself relevant.
Yeah, right. Become the person who delivers that good information.
Right.
Fascinating to me. I'd be in a panic if I was a doctor. I read something like that and think, how close are we to, no lie, an AI bot diagnosing you and you coming in and saying, here's what I think is wrong. And the bot agreeing with you or not agreeing with you. And you ended up with a prescription or, a direction or something like that. Like, I don't know. I think I'd want to be protecting my job if I was a doctor, but.
Right. No kidding.
Now, I mean, some of them are terrific. And I don't even mean that pejoratively. Like a lot of doctors are fantastic, but I speak to enough people to know that it's not a big enough percentage of patients having good experiences for me to say, wow, mostly people are doing great. I think mostly the information's shaky. Somebody's reading from you from a book. Like, I mean, how fascinating is it when like 3 people bump into you and they go, just eat up to 45 carbs a day or at a meal. And you're like, wait, the last person said that. I told the last person I don't eat that much already. What am I supposed to do? You want me to eat more? And that was the nutritionist.
Right. In the hospital.
In a hospital, standing in front of you weighing 210 pounds at 5'4". He's like, you know what you should do? You should eat more food than you're eating now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating. Sorry. All right. So now you got pens. You're a type 1. You're picking around online, figuring things out. How long does it take you to get comfortable that you're making reasonable decisions?
It's a continuum. I don't know. Once I had the CGM, it was, of course, much more clear what was happening. And, my insulin needs drastically went down once I got my blood sugar under control. And again, I have a great doctor because right off the bat, she was like, you adjust the Lantus as you see fit.
Oh, good.
And she wrote in my chart that I had agency to make changes up to 30%, like on day one.
Yeah, giving you freedom to see what's happening and react to it.
Right.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Which is great because it never occurred to me to not do that. And before I had the CGM, I didn't know I was having lows at night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
I never woke up in a cold sweat. And she did say, if you wake up in the middle of the night, go and test your blood sugar just to see. She didn't say you should get up every night and test your blood sugar to see if it's low.
If you wake up, take a look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I never did. I mean, I would wake up, but I'd just roll over and not do it.
You should have seen me begging Arden last night to test before she left her class because her CGM was dead. And I was like, please don't drive without testing. She's like, don't you worry. And I was like, that sounds like she's going to do it. She made it home fine. Yeah, I mean, this just happened to you. And now someone's saying to you, hey, you know how poking your finger sucks? You should do it if you wake up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
But isn't it interesting? Not if you don't wake up in the middle of the night.
Right.
Then why is it important? Right? If it doesn't have to be every night, then why is it important?
Right.
I had a very similar experience with Arden when she was little about that overnight stuff where they were like, hey, you can leave the blood sugar much higher overnight for safety. And I said, well, why does it have to be lower during the day then? Well, because high blood sugars are bad for health. I said, well, why are they not bad for health at night? She's like, well, you need to sleep. I was like, that doesn't answer the question. That just pushes it down the road. You know what I mean? It's kick the can at that point.
Yeah.
Answers to questions that don't really answer the question and don't make sense or upsetting. And then you don't know what to do. So you did nothing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
But then once I had the CGM, I was like, oh, that's too much. So dialed it way back and then back up and then back down. I mess with my carb ratios a lot, figuring out things like I'm more insulin resistant in the morning and that my breakfast ratio is much higher, lower, higher.
Needed to be stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the morning. Things like that. I've figured all that stuff out.
What about, is it something about your personality that lets you just be like, do you think it's your age? You know what I mean?
No, it's who I am. Before I owned my game store, I was a software test engineer. When I left to do my business, I was a director of test engineering for a Fortune 100 company. It's kind of in my DNA to know all the things.
Okay. Yeah. So it's your personality then. I wasn't sure if maybe your age just leaves you to be more, less afraid, I guess.
I think that's probably some of it. Us elders are wise.
Elders. You going to try to claim that at your age?
I'm taking it, man.
Well, if you can claim it, then I'm going to start claiming it. I'm getting close enough. When you speak to so many people who will tell you that they were frozen because no one told them to make an adjustment. And if they do make an adjustment, somebody gave them, crap about it. Then that stops them not just for a day or a week or a month, but sometimes for years and decades of making reasonable adjustments to help things.
And that's why, again, I keep saying how lucky I am that I have the doctors that I have, because I think she knew right away that I would be able to do that. And she never said, no, don't do that, or don't make those changes, or she never told me how to manage myself. She let me take the lead on how I'm going to do that.
Has she been helpful making adjustments to settings going forward since then?
No. I mean, she has never adjusted anything.
Well, now I'm worried, Laura, that she just gave you autonomy because she didn't know what to do.
No, she did.
Okay.
I mean, she set me up with an insulin to carb ratio and a correction factor and,
Oh, good.
those initial settings, how much Lantus to take and that kind of thing.
How much have they changed as you've lost weight?
Quite a bit.
Yeah, I would imagine that 50 pounds is, a reduction in your basal, a reduction in your insulin sensitivity and your carb ratio. No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I use way less insulin than I did. And there are a lot of factors that go into that, I think. One is the weight loss. I'm down from where I started, like 94 pounds or something like that.
You're down 94 total pounds
since before the pandemic.
Oh, okay. So you were 235 and then went to 210, but you had been up to 256?
Yeah.
Prior to that. I say, wow, good for you. That's such a change. Well, are you doing anything differently now that you're continuing on your weight loss? I mean, now obviously that you're out of DK and, for years.
Well, one of the things that I figured out was eating is a problem. It was an aha moment for me.
Tell me more.
I just don't eat.
Laura, you've decided that your body just revolts against food one way or the other, so you don't eat very much anymore.
Correct.
What do you eat?
Meat and veggies and the occasional starches.
What'd you cut out?
I just changed the amount. So I figured out that I really only need like 12 to 1,300 calories a day at all. I mean, just to maintain.
So even though you were eating things that you thought of as healthy, meats, vegetables, etc., you were eating in mass so much of it that you were holding weight.
I was eating probably less than the RDA for somebody of my age and still struggling.
So do you think your body doesn't work well? Like it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing? Okay, because this is what I think about me, by the way.
Growing up, and because I've had this issue my whole life, one of those, you hear somebody say, well, I have a slow metabolism. Well, that's just an excuse, right? Well, it's not.
Not for you.
Not for me. It's actually true. And now that I know that and I've internalized it, I just eat half of what I used to eat. Not half, but markedly less.
Was it difficult to eat less?
Oh, I made myself crazy. I was on the verge of an eating disorder.
What were you doing?
I was just really strict about what I ate and how many carbs I had. And I wasn't like keto low carb, but I was trying to stay around 70 per day and keep my calories between 1,000 and 1,200.
Yeah. Do you think you're at your ideal weight now, or is there more to lose?
I would like to weigh less, but my PCP sent me to a weight loss doctor because I got stuck. I've been the same for like 1.5 or 2 years now, the same weight. I can't lose anymore. And she basically told me that my body is not going to let me lose anymore and I should be happy where I am.
I have questions. How is your digestion and your elimination?
Fine.
Good. The poopy comes out like the way you want? Good form? Not squishy or anything like that? No. You don't run to the bathroom after you eat? Your digestion works pretty well?
My digestion works well.
Great. Okay.
I don't have any gluten issues or lactose issues.
Nothing to that.
I did an elimination thing 10 years ago and had zero change in anything.
What's your hourly basal?
It varies. My total basal for 24 hours is probably around 8 units.
Really? Well, that's because you're not really eating much, right? Either.
And my basal is actually like 65% of my insulin.
Wait. Hold on. Stop. You're not making sense. Your total daily basal is 8 units?
Yeah.
Wow. 0.35 an hour?
So sometimes it's 0.2 and sometimes it's 0.6. It varies. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments, which is probably too much, but that's what it is.
What's your A1C?
The last one was 4.8, which I don't think is right because my CGM says 5.7, which it always says 5.7. It's never, 5.6 sometimes, 5.8, but it's always been 5.1, 5.2 when I get it tested. And so the CGM still says 5.7 and my average is 103 or something for 90 days, but it came back at 4.8, which is weird.
Take me through today. What'd you eat for breakfast?
I have not eaten today.
Oh, a little intermittent fasting. When will you eat first?
I usually eat before I go to the shop because we open at noon.
Mm-hmm.
So between 11 and 11:30.
Oh, okay. You're on the West Coast, so it's 10 a.m. there.
Yeah.
Okay. So you haven't eaten yet at 10 a.m. because I'm looking at my clock and it's 1 o'clock. And I was like, you haven't eaten yet?
Yeah.
Are you doing the intermittent fasting?
I could easily not eat. Easily not eat.
No GLP medications at all.
Well, I am taking Victoza.
Here we
are. Which was a daily injection. I did not start that until it's been about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is, and my endo prescribed it to preserve the beta cells that I still have.
Okay.
And
how will it do that? How did she explain that it would do that?
I had many questions. She said there have been studies that show that people who retain beta cell function, that a GLP-1 helps that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd just been waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? When is it going to get bad? When am I going to be in the full-blown horror stories that I see from everyone? And my C-peptide was like 0.5, I think, after 2 years. So
if your total daily basal is just under 8, what's your total daily insulin?
It varies between, where can I see it? It's probably
like 11 to 15?
Between 12, 14, something like that.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
It depends on how many carbs I eat.
Yeah, but you're having up to 75 carbs a day.
Sometimes I have more.
Interesting.
But since starting the Victoza, my insulin to carb ratios are much
less aggressive.
Less strong, yes.
Have you considered asking her for something like Mounjaro to see if you could, because I'm looking at the chart here. 5'4" female at 160, you're at the high end of overweight, and 174 would put you at obese.
Mm-hmm.
140 is the high end of a healthy weight for your height as far as this chart goes, down to 110. So I think you would qualify for Zepbound, for example, which is just the weight loss version of Mounjaro. With what you've been saying previously, it matches up so much to my life. I wonder if you wouldn't lose another 20 pounds on this, because I have always thought that my body doesn't work well either. Like I've never eaten a ton of food. It doesn't matter if I do or if I don't, I'm always gaining weight. You know, if I went and had a regular meal like most people would, like nothing crazy. If we all went out to dinner together, I didn't eat anything differently than the skinny person sitting next to me, I'd wake up like 2 pounds heavier the next day.
Yeah.
And so I would restrict my food all the time because it was the only way I could keep myself from ballooning up to 300 pounds probably. You know, so I ate very little most of the time to accomplish that. And then every once in a while I would do stuff like fast to drop 20 pounds if my number was getting too far. And I was starting to count like 230 pounds as like the top of my my goal weight even, because I just couldn't really control it. Exercise wouldn't help. Drink a bunch of water didn't help. Like all the things you think of, nothing helped. I started taking Wegovy in March last year and then basically lost like 40 pounds. And then I plateaued. I went from 233 to 196, I think. And then I plateaued. I started gaining and losing the same 2.5 pounds every week. It was like I'd shoot the Wegovy, I'd lose a couple pounds. 4 or 5 days later, I'd start to put them back on again. By the time it was time to shoot the Wegovy again, I was back to where I started. I talked to my doctor. She said, let's try Zepbound, which is Mounjaro. Boom, I'm on that. I've lost like I'm 188 now. I've lost 8 pounds on Mounjaro in like three and a half weeks.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, but my eating hasn't changed.
See, that's the thing that concerns me because I do not need to eat less. I often have to, I'm looking at the end of the day because I use my Fitness Pal to keep track of my carbs and also my calories because I can't eat too much. And I'm at the end of the day and I'm like, oh, I'm only at like 900. I need to eat something.
Not only that, but when I eat more, I lose more weight.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, as crazy as that might sound. Today, I got up this morning and I had 2 eggs scrambled. Honestly, not scrambled. More like, what do you call it when you lay flat and you fold them? There's a real simple word for that.
An omelet?
An omelet. There you go. I had 2 eggs with 2 pieces of shrimp, like previously cooked shrimp warmed up in it. That's what I ate for breakfast. This afternoon, I'm thinking about a cold sandwich. Roast beef, turkey, provolone on a roll with some yellow mustard. Don't make fun of me. That's what I'm going to have for lunch. And tonight, I'm thinking about having some leftover pasta that has shrimp and sausage in it. I will eat all of that today. I'll wake up tomorrow. I'll be a pound lighter.
Wow.
It's insane. And the emergency feeling I used to get after I ate is completely gone. Like, I used to be one of those people, like, if you went out to lunch, like, I'd be like, all right, we got to go home now. We can't walk around the mall. I got to get out of here because, I'm going to need a bathroom. That is completely gone out of my life.
That's great.
Completely gone. All my acid reflux, gone. So my not educated perspective, and I want to say by not educated, I barely got out of high school. I didn't go to college. I'm not a doctor. I've never read a study about a GLP or a GIP or anything like that. The closest thing I can come up with is that whatever is in that juice that I'm injecting once a week is something my body either did not have enough of or didn't have any of.
I think that is 100% true.
Yeah.
It's the GLP-1
GIP.
That hormone
peptide.
Enzyme, whatever the hell it is.
I think it's a
is
peptide.
the thing that I did not have enough of.
Right. And now you're getting it with
had
that.
I taken one of those drugs, it would have helped me immensely. Oh my God. Because I white knuckled it to where I am.
Oh, see, you and I did the same exact thing, which is we just restricted our food so much. Like, that's what I've done my whole adult life.
Yeah. like
I just can't, ever since I've been out of when I was a kid, like if my family went out for a slice of pizza, I knew I was dead. Like I knew I was going to be just like everyone would be home, like living life and I'd be in the bathroom afterwards.
Oh.
All that's gone now. And this is the only thing that's changed. And I just interviewed a woman the other day about her daughter, her young teen daughter. It hasn't come out yet, but type 1 for 3 years, using a fairly significant amount of insulin. And now she's on Wegovy for weight loss because she was gaining weight that she couldn't stop gaining. And the weight come off of her and her insulin needs, she's off her pump. She's down to injecting basal.
Wow.
She sends me her graphs sometimes. You should see how insane they are. She's not even injecting for meals. But she's definitely got type 1. So I don't know if that GLP is like your doctor said, retaining some beta cell function, if it's what it's doing. But I'll tell you what, Scotty ran. He did not walk and got his daughter on Ozempic because Arden's only shooting the introductory amount, the 0.25 a month, which is by all measurements, not even a therapeutic dose. She's going to use, I forget what the number is, 11,000, 16, over 10,000 fewer units of insulin next year because of the reduction it made. 0.25 a month. And any excess weight on her body is gone. She looks so healthy, and anywhere she was carrying excess weight in 8 weeks is gone.
I'll check into that because I have been reluctant. I'm not taking the Vitoza for weight loss. It doesn't really do that.
Mm-hmm.
For some people it does, but not for me. But it has reduced my insulin usage and I have fewer spikes. So,
Laura, if I had $100,000 to put on a bet in Vegas, I'd bet it on 10 years from now, type 1 diabetics are going to get GLP medications with their insulin when they're diagnosed.
Wouldn't that be great?
It's going to be my bet. I don't know if I'm right. Again, like I said, barely got out of high school. You probably shouldn't listen to me. There's a disclaimer at the beginning of the podcast on purpose. It says, you shouldn't listen to me. So, but these are my experiences and what I'm hearing from other people. And I think they're worth sharing because this person I spoke to is not nearly the only one. My schedule is littered with people to record with this year who are using Wegovy, Ozempic, Zepbound, Mounjaro, those things, and they're seeing insane reductions in their insulin needs. Now, maybe not for everybody, but for people like you and me who, like, you know, I gain weight thinking about eating, like maybe my body just didn't work right. Because at the moment, sometimes I look in the mirror, I can't believe it's me. My ophthalmologist, I walked in to get a new pair of reading glasses the other day, and I've known him my whole adult life, and he almost cursed in his business in front of other people. He went, Scott, what the, you look like a different person. And he was not being, you know, polite or, you know, but he was like, my God, you don't even look like the same person. And I don't. I've seen photos of myself a year ago, and now I can't believe I wasn't in the hospital a year ago the way I looked. And I didn't know. I thought that was who I was, you know.
I've yo-yo dieted my whole entire life. And so, but it's ingrained in who I am is, you know, this pudgy to fat to obese person. And the personal failing that was my inability to control my weight is part of who I am. And I still struggle with that, actually, which my eating just because of all that. And then I got type 1.
Right.
And I had lost that weight a little bit at the beginning. When I first went to the endo, the only thing, I did not cry at all about any of it until she told me that my body was going to want to gain that weight back.
Yeah.
And I burst into tears.
I
and
bet
she
you
was
did.
like, it's okay. It's okay. And I'm like, it's not okay.
I can't tell you how much happier I am now than a year ago for so many reasons that I mean, I could sit here and list them all day, but they weren't things that any of my efforts were impacting. And I listen, I don't think there aren't people who aren't eating their way to their weight. I'm sure there are. I'm saying that I think that some people's bodies just are mistuned, like no differently than you need that Synthroid now because your thyroid's not picking up the TSH correctly, right? Like, so,
yeah,
you know, so you take that T4, not because your body's not making it, but because your body's not using it correctly. So you kind of flood your body with extra T4 so that you get enough of it. Almost like, you know, you really only need like that little squirt bottle in a football game that they squirt in the players' faces, but for some reason it doesn't make it into your mouth, so they have to shoot a fire hose at you, and then you get as much as you want. And that's
right.
What's happening with that. I don't think that's not what's happening to me. Because I'm going to tell you right now, arms, butt, legs, hips, my back, my chest, there's no extra weight on me anymore. And it's coming out of my stomach. It's been the entire time. I could lose weight like crazy. It would never come out of my stomach. Like if I could lose 15 or 20 pounds, like I could starve myself and lose weight 10 years ago, it wouldn't come out of my stomach. My stomach's almost gone. I'm down to measuring my stomach by handfuls of fat. That's how I do it. Like I'm down to 4 handfuls. And I can feel when they're like, I didn't measure myself first. Sometimes I'm like disappointed that I didn't, but I didn't measure my body. But I'm telling you right now, my arms, my hands, my face, my legs, there's not an ounce of fat on me anywhere. Like and I'm not too thin. Like I'm not like skin stretched over muscle over bone. I look healthy. And the extra fat's coming out of my midsection. It came out of I'm so embarrassed to say I probably had side boobs at one point. They're gone. You know what I mean? And that's not attractive for a guy.
That's not attractive for anyone, really.
Well, listen, Laura, that depends on what you like. But I'm saying that for me, it didn't look good on me. My back, which I never would lose weight off my back, my face looks so different. It's insane.
Do you have loose skin?
No.
I do. I probably have 10 to 15 pounds of loose skin.
I am vitamining and supplementing and AG1ing and like trying to give my body everything possible that I can so that hopefully it can bounce back from that. I have a little bit under my arms, but it's getting better. I had it on the inside of my thighs, but that actually tightened up. And my stomach is like astonishingly tightening as it's shrinking.
It's great.
I'm going to have some around my belly button when it's over, I know for sure. but not nearly the way I expected to.
I don't have as much as I thought I was going to have either, considering how much weight I've lost.
I swear to you. And by the way, I used to think, oh, what's that person going to do without loose skin? And now that I'm a person who is in that situation, I'm going to tell you, it's so much better than being bloated. I don't even care.
Oh, God, right?
Yeah. Don't even care.
Well, I have an appointment with my, what do you call it? The weight loss doctor, which I don't really need because I'm not losing weight, but I like the accountability because I'm seeing her yearly now.
I would lead with, what if I have a GLP deficiency? Can we try one of these other medications for a little while? Now, look, I'm going to say too, there are some people who have like terrible side effects from it. I'm not one of them. Right. And I don't think it's a lot of people, but it's enough that it's a known side effect. I've seen, a handful of stories of people having like bowel obstructions even.
Oh,
but I don't know those people's details. Like, you know what I mean? Like if they were, as an example, if you have had type 2 diabetes your whole life and you have some gastroparesis, and then we put in a drug that slows down your digestion, maybe you get a bowel obstruction from that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but I'm going to tell you that like I'm on it. I let my daughter take it. My wife's lost 65 pounds on it. My wife, who had her thyroid explode after she had my daughter and gained a ton of weight that was inexplicable. Nothing about her life had changed. And she fought with it for a decade and, got on top of it as much as she could, but was not winning that fight. She looks like a different person now. And by the way, too, my knees don't hurt anymore. My back's not sore. My joints feel better. Like I can run up and down the stairs. The other night we threw away, when you like go down in the basement, you're like, oh, how did all this stuff get down here? We should be throwing out.
Yeah.
and right. So that happened the other weekend. We were like, let's get rid of this stuff. I ran up and down my stairs 100 times with a jacket on, up, out of my house, down to the driveway, put it down, came back in over and over again. I did it for 2 hours. I didn't break a sweat. I didn't run out of breath. Like it was amazing. Like if you would have found me a year ago, I would have told you, I don't think I'm going to live into my mid 60s. And now I'm like, I think I could live forever like this. I'm not kidding. So
I feel so much better.
I bet.
From even before. I mean, I was getting like, you had to stand up from sitting and be stiff. I don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
And this was before the diabetes. I was like, I'm getting old and that sucks. Getting up and down off the floor was hard. But now I'm like, spring chicken, baby.
I found myself a year and a half ago. I got up off the sofa and I was like bent over. I couldn't even stand up straight. Like I was like, what is happening? And to your point, you think like, oh, I'm getting old. I guess this is what they mean. Bullshit. I was fat. That was the problem. And I didn't have whatever this is, like whatever GLP brings to you. And I have to admit, I know I sound ridiculous saying that something is helping me and I don't even know exactly how, but I don't really care.
Yeah.
So, it just is working for me. That's what I know right now. Somebody said, do you have to take it the rest of your life? I said, I don't care. If I have to, I have to. I don't know what that means. Like, I mean, I'm sure we'll dial it back at some point because there's going to be a point when I don't want to lose weight. And we're going to probably have to find a balance to stop that from happening. But my doctor's already said we could, we'll try lower doses. We'll try longer intervals in between the injections. She's like, she's like, we'll figure it out. Just very cool having a good doctor like that,
Yeah.
Anyway, why did you come on the podcast? I'm sorry. It's only been
well,
an hour.
I wanted to talk about the late onset a little bit and the whole weight thing. I did really screw myself up with the eating, and I saw myself going down a bad path of, really, I mean, I'm still overweight, so I clearly don't have the eating disorder that would make me excruciatingly thin, but I was screwed up. And so I found somebody on my own who was a T1 who did counseling, and she helped me a lot, making me like, what is it? CRT? Is that what they call it?
Wait, the rapid eye movement thing?
Oh, no.
No,
where you have to do things. So she was like, go out to eat and eat something that scares you.
Nice. I don't know that one, but okay.
It's behavioral therapy. What do you call it? I don't remember the name. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But she helped me a lot, helped me get out of my head about it. One of the things with Victoza, which is also a GLP-1, it's just lower. It's liraglutide instead of semaglutide. Anyway, that has stopped a lot of the food noise, which is great.
Oh, you had that? My wife talks about that.
Oh, my God. I mean, because it's my whole entire life. Well, what am I going to eat? When am I going to eat it? Can I have that? How much is in that? Should I eat this first? Should I not have that? We're going out to eat. What am I going to get? I'm going to be with those people, just this constant, never shut up.
Yeah.
And now I don't think about it hardly at all.
I've said it before. My wife said that she'd open her eyes in the morning and think about what she was going to eat for breakfast immediately. And then she said while she was making breakfast, she'd find herself thinking about what she was going to eat for lunch.
Yep.
She's like, it's insane. And now she said it's completely gone.
So now I got a referral to the psychologist who's on the diabetes in the clinic that I go to. And she's been very helpful as well.
Nice.
I feel now like I'm no longer screwed up with my food.
Yeah.
And I'm in a zone that I can maintain without having to think about it all the time. And that has been very helpful.
That's excellent. Good for you.
Sure. So I want people to seek the help that they need and to recognize when you think you're going down a path, because it's very hard. The whole thing is hard, man. It sucks. Every time I go to the endo, she was like, so how are you? I'm like, oh, I'm all right. Diabetes still sucks. And she puts that in my chart. Diabetes still sucks. Like, it's always going to suck. Yeah. It's never going to not suck.
Thanks a lot. Did you learn that in medical school? Fantastic.
Right. Yeah. So you don't really need to write that down. It's always going to be that way. And it's just the late onset is hard because, I lived my entire life a different way.
Yeah.
But in a way, in a weird kind of way, it was a blessing. I'm not going to say that. But
I've heard people say that. Tell me why.
Forced me to figure it out, and I am way healthier than I was before.
Yeah.
And I wasn't unhealthy. All my labs were good. My A1C was like 5.5. My cholesterol was good. Everything was good. I was fine. I was just fat.
You really think you had an eating disorder?
I think I was very close.
Okay.
I mean, I still can just not eat anything.
Yeah, just not.
Just not.
So you're talking about an eating disorder, not in a way of like, oh, I'm uncontrollably eating or I'm eating and purging or something like that. You're saying like, I was just not eating.
I was not eating.
Yeah.
That's
the nutritional downgrade. That's why I think I looked so bad last year, because of nutrition. Like, I was trying to get all my nutrition through like a green drink. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't really eating very much. And still I'm taking those, I still drink AG1 and I take my, I take my vitamins and everything really religiously, by the way. I take vitamins very, very religiously every day. Vitamin D, magnesium, a probiotic, zinc. I take a multivitamin that's really good. And I take iron 3 times a week with some vitamin C. And so I'm very careful to do all that, because I really think my body is going through a metamorphosis and I want to give it as many building blocks as I possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah. My pill case has 2 actual pills and all the rest of it is supplements. Yeah. It's do you take all that stuff? And I'm like, well, yeah, there's the calcium and the magnesium and this one and that one and the omega-3 and I got it all in there.
I like when somebody said to me, well, you shouldn't have to take all those supplements. And I was like, well, I do, because if I don't, look at this photo of me when it looked like my eyes were falling back in my head and, I look terrible all the time. If I was going to go to a speaking engagement, I'd have to start 6 weeks before the engagement and go completely low carb, just to get enough of the bloat out of my body that I felt comfortable getting on stage.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's not a thing you tell people about, but I absolutely, that's not my situation right now. If you came to me right now and said, hey, stand up in front of 500 people and talk, I wouldn't even think twice about it. I'd be like, okay, great. What are we going to talk about? And I'd jump right up. But back then I would set up my things, and then I would do these very restrictive, very high protein, almost no carb diets to kind of like diaphragm myself a little bit, like try to get like as much liquid out of my body as I could. But I wasn't really like losing much weight. I was just getting like the bloat out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. Like it's hard to stand up in front of people thinking I know what I look like. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Oh yeah. Yes. I totally understand that.
Yeah. I feel so much better now. It's incredible. I actually thought today my clothing sizes are dropping so much that I've been trying very hard not to replace clothes because I'm like, if I just buy another shirt, this shirt's not going to fit me in 6 weeks. Like, so I've been very careful about it because I don't want to spend extra money where I don't have to. I just had that thought today. Like, I have to go buy different pants. Like, I'm going to go to I think I'm going to go to a 34 waist, which, trust me, as a person who at one point had a 40 waist, like, it's insane. It's such a significant difference. I wear a large t-shirt now. I used to wear a 2XL, and there were days where I was like, oh, this thing's grabbing me. And then one day I was like, I can't wear this 2XL anymore. I look homeless in it. So I threw it away and I got like some XLs. And then before I knew it, I said to my wife, I'm like, I think I have to get large t-shirts. Now, I don't think I'm ever going to be a medium, but I don't think that's just my size of my body. I said to somebody the other day, I'm sitting here at a 90-degree angle recording the podcast, and I can see the hinge in my hip. Like I can see where my leg touches my torso. and I was like, that's such a crazy thing to me. I was recording one time on camera with somebody, and I could see myself, like I could see the image of myself that they were seeing. And I started touching my forearm, and someone said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I thought there was something on my arm. And then I looked closer, and it was the line between the two muscles in your arm. And I thought, oh, I've never seen that before. like seriously, So I don't know if these things can help people to not have all the problems that you've described and all the problems I've described, and to generally be healthier, to live more comfortably. I'm not even talking about aesthetically. That's a bonus, honestly.
Yeah.
I think run, don't walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've had to replace my wardrobe twice.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time it was like Target clothes because I knew it was transitional. But now I am in a single digit size.
Yeah.
I have not been in since like junior high. I wear a medium shirt. It's just amazing.
I learned that Skinny Scott likes fashion. I didn't know that. I upgraded just slightly, like not this great expense. I spend a little more money just on the t-shirts I buy now so that they're just out of a slightly better material, and I look better because I didn't know that. And I never would have done that before because that material is a little stretchy. And so I would have been super afraid of how it would have clung to me. So I would never have bought it before. I would always stick with...
Nobody wants anything clingy.
Right. I would stick with more cotton because it would billow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Such a good deal. But also my brother did it. He's type 2, lost like 35 pounds. A1C went way down. There's just a lot about this that's valuable. So anyway, good luck to everybody. Whatever. What else? Anything else, Laura? Are we done? You did a great job. I was terrific.
I did have a couple more things.
Go. Let's do it.
Number one is I use an Omnipod DASH, and my endo has been pushing me to switch to the 5 and use the algorithm.
Okay.
But I'm not going to do that.
Because
the target is too high.
Oh, yeah, you are. What is your target on you're probably targeting 80.
It'll correct at 110. I have all my settings in my pump, so I use those. I let it do the math for me, so it won't add a correction unless I'm over 110.
I understand. Yeah.
And I like it at 100.
Okay.
I've got it down now. Like I know what's going to happen in the afternoon, after lunch. I don't need anything again. Like I eat at 11 and I won't eat again until dinner, which is usually at like 7.
Mm-hmm.
And by that time, I'm riding around 85. Nice. And then I'll eat dinner.
That's fantastic. Look at you.
Well, I credit a lot of that to you, Scott. I learned so much. I understand how insulin works. And I do it without thinking about it. It's like, oh, I'm 85 and this is what I'm going to have for dinner. So I'm not going to pre-bolus.
Right.
Or I'm going to pre-bolus 10 minutes. Or I'm 120. I'm going to pre-bolus for 20 minutes. It just depends on what I'm going to eat and where I am and what I'm going to do after. You have to think about all those things.
Right.
I made a list once for my my people around me about all the things you have to do to eat.
You're like, I want some goddamn respect.
All the steps. And that doesn't include like preparing the food.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the 25 steps to eating.
Yeah. And what a big difference they make for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's huge. I feel a little bit like I know that because my pancreas still works a little bit, that it's not as volatile as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think that the management wise, I've figured it out enough that when and if that ever happens, that it'll be pretty much the same.
Yeah. I wonder how much the Victoza is helping you too.
It has helped. It reduced my insulin needs, and because it makes your pancreas produce more insulin, which I was like, isn't that going to burn it out faster? Because this is why I take insulin, right? So that my pancreas doesn't have to work so hard and burn itself out. And she was like, you would think, but no. So I don't know. It does help a little bit.
You inject that daily, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
The daily injection's not the greatest, but it's just part of my routine. I get up, I poke my finger, I calibrate my Dexcom, I take my shot, I go, I take my Synthroid, I go on with my day.
Yeah. Yeah, just get it out of the way.
So that's another thing. I like the G6 because I don't use a code when I start it up. If you don't use the code, then you have to calibrate it every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that, and it is always right.
Good.
It's always right.
I'm glad.
Always.
You're doing terrific, Laura. You really are. I'm proud of my disciple and what has happened to you. So I'm actually just, it's hard. It doesn't get any less awkward sometimes to know that the podcast is so helpful to people. Like when somebody says it to my face, I'm always like, oh, thank you. I don't really know what to say so much, but hearing you mimic back the things that I know you got from this, it makes me feel terrific. I know you're a healthier person because of it, and that's really exciting for me.
I am. I feel really lucky, and just again, I'm that kind. I've read all the things. I've read all the books, all of them, and
Laura, for free too. By the way, I give it away.
That's right.
Just throw it out in the air. I'm like, here, take it. I'm also, I sell ads. I just want to be clear. It is altruistic.
Use the Omnipod.
Yeah. Hey, omnipod.com/juicebox. Thank you. Dexcom.com/juicebox.
Oh, I also use the Contour Next.
ContourNext.com.
And I pay for it myself.
Thank you. See that?
Because
I hope they're listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, they're a great sponsor. That's Ascensia Diabetes. They're actually coming on with another product soon. Actually, by the time this comes out, it's very possible the ad could be on this, but we're going to be doing ads for their CGM as well.
Excellent.
The implantable one, do you know it?
Oh, I have done 3 research studies, and one of them was for the 6-month Eversense.
Really? How was it?
Oh, it was so hard. Oh, my God.
Why you didn't like it? Tell me.
Oh, well, the device itself was fine.
Oh.
Although it was it's not as accurate because I had 2 of them, one in each arm. One was blind and the other one was not. And I had to poke my finger 4 times a day.
I see what you're saying. Doing the study was hard.
The study was hard.
Yeah.
It was not as accurate as my Dexcom.
But this was prior to it being released?
It was out for 3 months, and I was in the study or the trial. I think it was a trial, actually. I don't know what it was to move it to 6.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So all you 6-monthers, you're welcome.
I got you there. Good job.
And now they're down to the year, and they asked me if I wanted to continue on for the year, and I was like, absolutely not.
You were good. You're like, I'm all right with this other one.
You would have to go in every 3 weeks.
Oh, I see. Again,
day, 12 hours of an IV and every 15-minute pokes and blood draws, and
just for the study.
Yeah, for the study. It was
being a
hard.
study participant is difficult in some things. That's for sure.
It is.
I appreciate you doing that very much.
I've done a couple other ones that were far easier.
Yeah. Which, like what?
I did one through the dermatology department, and they found me through my endo. It was about pump sites and, the
Just how they
healing and the
last
scarring and that
gotcha.
kind of stuff. So they did these biopsies of different spots on my body where I had a pump over like 3 ago, 2 ago, the last one, and then they had me do it right then.
Yeah.
So they had big chunks out of me for that.
Jeez. How much money did you make for that? Was it enough?
For that one, not really. It was like a $125 gift card.
Oh, what did you buy with it?
Probably test strips. But the Sensionic study is the one they gave me, the Contour Next meter.
Very nice.
And I was like, this is fantastic. I wish I could get it, but my insurance doesn't cover it. So I just buy it myself.
Pay for it yourself. I do hear that it's possible that you could pay less for the test strips in cash than other people pay through their insurance for other test strips.
That's exactly right. You can pay less by just buying them yourself.
ContourNext.com/Juicebox.
ContourNext.com.
That's hilarious. Well, I appreciate you being such a good supporter of the podcast as well. I really do appreciate it. Like, this information only gets out because people listen, they support the advertisers, and they tell other people about the podcast. That's how it keeps happening. So, yeah, if that stops, I'm just going to be a really popular Walmart cashier.
I recommend it. I'm in a couple of support groups, which I also recommend everybody out there find people around you. And I mean, we don't really talk about anything.
Yeah.
But it's helpful to have other people around you because I don't have anybody around me.
Yeah, no, it's more valuable than I ever imagined it would be. Watching the my Facebook group help people is extraordinary, actually.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, Laura, I appreciate you doing this with me. I am going to go out and buy a pair of pants. You've motivated me. What do you think of that?
Do it.
All right. I'm tired of pulling my belt so tight and them gathering up around my waist.
You'll feel much better when you have pants that fit.
I think so too. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Hold on for me for 1 second.
Okay.
Today's episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Dexcom G7, which now integrates with the Tandem T-Slim X2 system. Learn more and get started today at dexcom.com/juicebox. If you'd like to wear the same insulin pump that Arden does, all you have to do is go to omnipod.com/juicebox. That's it. Head over now and get started today, and you'll be wearing the same tubeless insulin pump that Arden has been wearing since she was 4 years old. Huge thanks to Cozy Earth for sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox Podcast. CozyEarth.com. Use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout to save 40% off of your entire order. If you're newly diagnosed, check out the Bold Beginnings series. Find it at juiceboxpodcast.com up in the menu, in the featured tab of the private Facebook group, or go into the audio app you're listening in right now and search for Juicebox Podcast Bold Beginnings. Juicebox is one word, Juicebox Podcast Bold Beginnings. This series is perfect for newly diagnosed people. I want to thank you so much for listening and remind you, please subscribe and follow to the podcast wherever you're listening right now. If it's YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other audio app, go hit follow or subscribe, whichever your app allows for, and set up those downloads so you never miss an episode, especially in Apple Podcasts. Go into your settings and choose download all new episodes. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you've noticed that the podcast sounds better and you're thinking, like, how does that happen? What you're hearing is Rob at Wrong Way Recording doing his magic to these files. So if you want him to do his magic to you, wrongwayrecording.com. You got a podcast? You want somebody to edit it? You want Rob.